طب هي ده ريكورد شغال لوحدها حاليا؟ يعني احيانا بتبقى لوحدها؟ بتسجل هي كده بتسجل لوحدها بقى. I'm recording about.
Which one is it?
The lower one.
This
Yeah,
one?
this one, yes.
Go to here and see what I added hit two.
You can take the coat and put the shirt.
Huh?
You can take off your coat.
Take your jacket for now.
Hello?
Yeah, for now. I mean,
No, yeah.
Get relaxed.
Just
Take your break.
get used to the. I added this one and the.
That's perfect slide.
Huh?
When you finish, leave this video on, okay?
I finish. I leave this
Leave this.
for them to see.
Yeah. This is even have some message to it.
Okay.
So, once with this keyboard.
تشوفه شوف الصوت نسجل أنا لو.
I don't want it. I don't want it.
ماشي.
That's one after one. Leave it there.
Can you go to slide number 8? 8 is the slide is probably on the top of the okay. Look. You know, this one will be 8. This is not
Yeah.
you see.
Okay, let's.
Press here. Click here. And you can click.
أنا واخد المنظر ده بقى.
تلت ساعة. بعد التلت. ها؟ لا.
انا بقول لك العمليه سهله يعني يتكلم هو فهمت كده
Identify, focus on extraordinary values that I gleaned from the textual analysis of his public communication. The research questions, two major questions. What are the values, the primary values in the public communication of Prophet Muhammad? The second question, what are the other extraordinary values in the public communication of Prophet Muhammad? The significance of the study, so far there's no studies have shown how the values exposed by the Prophet can influence current practices or how important the extraordinary values themselves were to the Prophet in reaching his message. This research can inform current secular and religious and spiritual leaders about Islamic values inspired from Muhammad's teaching. The theoretical framework, the transformational leaders, that the values that identified by Byrne 1978 includes liberty, justice, equality, and collective of well-being. The transformational leaders are passionately committed to their goals. They motivate and encourage others. And also Byrne argues that effective transformational leaders must possess rhetorical and persuasive skills to compose clear, visionary, and inspiring messages. The methodology is the textual analysis. The textual analysis is to sufficiently tease out or lay bare the subtleties of verbal and visual messages, and also to describe and interpret the characteristics of a message and to ascertain the meaning intended by the producer of the text. The Prophet Muhammad public communication sources is from the Quran and from the Ahadith that was sayings that the Prophet said through different occasions and was combined his actions and also his way of living and what he said about each issue. The Prophet Muhammad values, the transformation leaders that identified by Burns 1978 include liberty, justice, equality, collective well-being, and through the close textual analysis reading that I was able to identify two major values. The character values of the Prophet include gentleness, humility, kindness, moderation, modesty, politeness, truthfulness, and also the community values include charity, forgiveness, hospitality, and mercy. What the character values, just a quick sample of what he said about gentleness. He who is deprived of gentleness is deprived of good. About the good character, the believers whose faith is most perfect are those who have the best character. What humility is, shall I tell you about the inhabitants of paradise? They are very meek and humble persons. About the politeness, this is a verse from Quran. But when you are invited, enter. And when you have taken your meals, disperse without stopping to gossip. such behavior annoys the Prophet, but he would be ashamed to dismiss you. But Allah is not ashamed to tell you the truth. About the truthfulness, the Prophet Muhammad defined a truthful and righteous man in these words: he who is truthful in words, in motives, in intentions, in determinations, in obedience, in actions, and in religious duties. About the kindness, Allah is kind and likes kindness in all things. But modesty is part of faith, and faith is in paradise. The moderation in expenditure is half of one's livelihood. What the community values, what the charity. The Prophet once said, when you smile in your brother's face, or enjoin what is right and good, or forbid what is wrong and evil, or direct someone who has lost his way, or help a person who has had eyesight, or remove a stone, thorns or bones from the way, it counts to you as a charity. The forgiveness, let them forgive and overlook. Do you not wish that Allah should forgive you? What the mercy? Mercy is only taken from him who is miserable. What the findings of the research? Prophet Muhammad public communication was successful because he was a secular and religious leader and was successful on that. His daily interactions as husband, father, friend, businessman, public figure, and a messenger of God all reinforced his leadership ability and values orientation. The extraordinary values found through textual analysis complement the transformational leadership values cited by Burns 1978. These additional values can inform current and future leaders who want to be truly inspiring and transformational in theory and practice. Muhammad's method, teachings, and style of communication were somewhat similar to those of Jesus Christ, Buddha, and Gandhi, but was different from those of Moses and Confucius and a vast number of present-day leaders. About future research, there is a need for a type of encyclopedic treatment of the values that the Prophet addressed, and that will be my future lifetime project that I will continue on after that. And also additional research will further explain the Prophet Muhammad's values orientation and how understanding the values can lead to better ethical practices. Well, that's it.
Well, thank you. I'm going to take Roger next year. Normally I would ask the last question, but I just want to set a context for the other questions. And so, Ali, would you first of all tell us what you consider your most important finding?
The most important finding is these values that the Prophet addressed is not known and is misunderstood or along, especially in the West. So in his values addressing how people treat each other or how the leaders should behave is not understood in the West as it should be. So this values that even I was surprised to know that find that even Burns did not comment about the Prophet in any of his work at all. So but through his values that he identified for the transformational leaders, I found through my close readings to the Prophet's sayings that the Prophet addressed all these issues in details and stated words even more than what the Burns and the other leadership scholars identified as values for leaders. So that could be the most important issue that I was kind of interesting because it was not known, especially in the West. And that's basically my research toward informing the non-Arab speakers about these values of the Prophet.
Okay, so your most important finding was your identification of the values that the Prophet.
That's correct, yes. Through his speeches and sayings.
Okay, so I guess my second question is, what significance are your findings to the field of mass communication?
The Prophet's pattern of communication was unique and was consistent, and he followed the way that like he understood the human nature, and in a persuasive way to help the people to understand his message, and for the people to decide for themselves what to accept and what to follow. So that's his techniques, and even in his way that after he communicated with the people and the people did not follow, although he was the commander, he did not punish them, but even he did not say anything about his forgiveness to his followers, and even that attracts people to him and was following him by his example. So he was like a model for the people to follow through his values that he exposed to them.
I was really wondering why Prophet Muhammad has been misunderstood most people in the West. For example, myself, my understanding of Islam or Islam was that Quran on the one hand and sword on the other hand. Why a lot of people in the West misunderstood Islam by then?
Yes, well,
you didn't say anything about it.
Yes.
You just told us that Prophet Muhammad has been misunderstood by the West, but that there's no evidence that we misunderstood.
Yes, in some, even I'm sure, especially after September 11th, some people they blame the religion of Islam on what happened. So, and of course, but the reality is the opposite, because the religion did not direct the people to do anything violent or anything wrong. But the human nature, it was the reason for what happened. So in the West, especially in the 18th century, where the West or the Western world or the occupying different countries and all this, and so the religion was misunderstood in the West, and some or people on purpose they want to put the people who follow the religion of Islam down by misrepresenting the way that the Islam is spread. And for instance, saying the Islam was spread by the sword, by violence. But it is the opposite, because the people who was doing trade and the merchants, they were moving around in different directions, and that's how the religion spread in different corners of the world. For the benefit of the powerful people at that time, they were on purpose, they was describing Muhammad in different ways to minimize his value or to lessen the message that he brought to the world, and he was encouraging the people not to, or asking the people not to follow it. So it was for power purpose that in purpose people misunderstood, or the people in power, the gatekeeper was trying to inform the followers of mistakes. But in the recent times, especially in my literature review, many of the scholars who seeking the truth was identifying the reality and correcting this misunderstanding. Nowadays, of course, from time to time, you will find some people misunderstanding or on purpose they could doing that for whatever reason, politically or their own purpose. So it is an issue, but if you go through the sayings of the scholars, you will find it's very clear that it's exactly the opposite. Never been by violence. It's been through the dealings of the people who went around the corner of the world doing trade, and how the religion spread in different directions.
Let me just make sure whether my understanding of your explanation is correct or not. So what you are saying is misunderstanding of the Prophet Muhammad by the West had been politically oriented and motivated some sort of a religious reasons.
Could be. You could say at that time could be for religious reasons, could be for political reasons, for power, to domination, whatever reason that to make the people believe that this is something to avoid. This is what they did.
I can understand, if there are some conflicts among different religious groups. But did you discuss that possibility here clearly?
Well, the issue of I concentrate on the values that the Prophet stated, and that value is kind of a response to that misunderstanding.
Then this is my second question. I say prophet instead of religious leaders or political leaders, So you try to be neutral. That's my understanding about Prophet Muhammad. Yes. But when I read your analysis, it is a lot about, not all about, a lot about the religious things. And then, I was really curious. I can find any word of love which can be found all other religious, all other, whether it's a politics or the religious groups, it doesn't matter. So how can you explain that Prophet Muhammad, who is really not violence-oriented, but never mentioned even love?
Okay. The meaning itself is stated in different ways. When it say kindness, gentleness, treating everybody the way that you should be treated, that all means love. When you even they may use the word like. Then when you say you like your brother like you like yourself, so that actually it is. Maybe because there's thousands of sayings of the Prophet, I did not address all of them, but there's a speech of the Prophet saying that if you want to be liked by God, you should like your human brother like you like yourself. So it is really exists the way that you should care about your not regardless the religion or the color or it's human. It's as long as the human they have right on you that you should care about. Even for instance the neighbors. He say that he was asking the people to care about neighbors and to offer them what they need, to the extent that the people thought that they were inherited. So it is in an indirect way, but it is some words of the Prophet saying, yes, you love your brother or you like your brother the way you like yourself.
In the language written in Quran, is there any specific word love or not?
Yes, you say.
Then,
yes.
Just a second. If there is a specific word of love is included in there, then the meaning of love itself is slightly at least different from all those kinds, gentleness, whatever. That's what I'm saying.
Yes.
Okay? if you say, all right, if we collect all these bits and pieces and put them together, that's the perfection of love. We may say so, but if you believe so, then you should have said so in your document. But
Yes.
I didn't see any explanation whether. That's my question. Okay. I don't want to go any further. Okay. I was really curious about love is at the center of all other religions. That's
Yes.
my understanding. Here I can find it.
Well,
And then you kept on saying that Prophet Muhammad had been misunderstood by the West and the political motivated. I don't get it.
okay. Well, I did not address all the values that the Prophet addressed, and the dealings with people, that was very, very important, even to the extent that the Prophet said that the religion is the way that you deal with people. It's all about deal with people. It's dealing with people the way it should be, like in the same golden rule that is in all Judaism and Christianity. It's you treat the people the way you like to be treated. It's exactly word by word. You treat the people the way you like to be treated. So if I did not address the love, because I did not address everything that the Prophet said. I just for the times and I selected special values that the time would allow to do that. But it is there, the value of love. If it is not.
All right. On page 46, you said you haven't analyzed many of thousands of his speeches.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Exactly. What do you mean by many?
Okay.
I already told you before that.
Yes, it's actually
more specific.
This was my source for the saying of the Prophet, and exactly there are 6 books. Bukhari, he has 7,563 sayings of the Prophet, and Muslim has 7,562 sayings. Abu Dawood has 5,274 sayings, and Tirmidhi has 3,957 sayings, and Nisa'i has 5,761, and Ibn Majah has 4,341. This doesn't mean that all of them are different. There are 6. They could be saying the same saying that the Prophet, but because 6 of them they went to search and to meet people and to collect the words of the Prophet, and some of them matching and some of them different. But all of them the words of the Prophet, and this was my source that I went through. But again, to address all what the Prophet said, that will take years and years. But this
my question is there any specific word of love included in that book or not?
Yes, as I mentioned to you, to love your brother like you love yourself, or like the way the way to be translated, it could be translated to like or love, but it's exactly this exact word. What you like to yourself, like to your brother, or to human brother.
No. You're out of point. My point is that my interest is centered on the concept of love. Okay? And then when I read your draft first, wait a minute, I thought I just probably missed some pages. So on my second reading, I specifically search whether there is any word like love or not. It's included here. But I didn't find any. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is, if love is not one of the extraordinary values that Prophet Muhammad had addressed in his thousands of speeches, but indirectly, which means implied, but never addressed directly love.
Well, it is.
If he directly addressed love as an important extraordinary value,
Yes.
then why is it not included here? That's my question.
Yeah, well, when I chose chose the categories, I put the character values and the community values, and I chose this just for because of the time frame. I chose these values that I addressed, but for sure, there's the love issue is addressed, and in several sayings that the Prophet mentioned that, and I promise you, one time I will do extensive research about the love in Islam, and I will show you that it's been addressed, and the way that the Prophet advocate the way that people should treat each other in that golden mean, that the people love others as you love to yourself. Like what could happen to you is to happen to the others.
As you know, I'm substituting for Dr. Boy, and perhaps my first question is somewhat related to this discussion today, because I'm not clear myself about textual analysis versus content analysis. So, could you kind of tell us why you chose textual analysis versus content?
Yes, textual analysis is go beyond the words. It's go deep in every word, line by line, and explore the issues that the message is advocating than the content analysis. Content analysis will go with numbers and kind of frame that the words will not, the contextual analysis will explore more and will just go beyond the words, go beyond the lines, or figure out what the author or what the producer of the text wanted to say, not only by putting numbers and putting the words next to each other. And no, the textual analysis goes deep in thoughts and even connect ideas from the beginning of the text to the middle to the end. So we'll put things together that the content analysis cannot explore as textual analysis.
In your study, did it afford you an opportunity to compare and contrast the Prophet with other spiritual leaders?
Yes.
For example, in the context of love. And I'm not again thoroughly versed on Burns, but is there trying to find some way to kind of marry or compare, contrast these ideas? If the word love, for example, is not specifically addressed in your study, could that be explained? I won't put words in your mouth by the fact that Burns is from the Western orientation, and I'm certain he probably is familiar with the concept of love. Does that explain, perhaps, the difference here? How do you, another way of saying it, Burns perhaps brings a Western orientation to this. Could you comment on that? Is that explain some dissonance between?
Sure. Okay, well, the reason I chose the theory of Burns in the leadership, I'm trying to, since being a Muslim, trying to be objective in all my findings, and I used the theory of Burns to show what values that he identified, and if I could find it in the saying of the Prophet. So going through the Prophet's sayings, yes, I found it addressed the liberty, collective well-being, and justice and fairness. Yes, he stated that in extensive way. And this is a way of kind of being objective than being subjective. About other values that I identified, it's comparing to other religious leaders. Yes, the Prophet was somewhat similar to some leaders in advocating peace and harmony and helping each other. Even the peace, even the word peace, it's in the tongues of every Muslim. If you meet each other, say salam alaikum, mean peace upon you. That's the greeting. So for the Prophet emphasized that issue, and of course Jesus Christ also used himself as example, and the people followed him. And the same with the Prophet Muhammad, was used himself as example and the people to follow. He was asking the people to do as he is doing and to follow his steps. And even people would come and say, "Oh, you are the Prophet, so we are not like you. We're going to pray day and night. We are not going to marry women. We are going to." He said, "No, I know God more than you, and if I pray and I sleep, and I marry women, and I do things that better than you. If you don't follow me, you are not with me. So you are not my followers." So he was putting himself as an example to be followed. In the same way, he was different than other leaders, like for instance Moses or Confucius. He was, as I mentioned, he was putting himself as an example. And the people chose. He would never force people to do things. And even as I mentioned, one of the battles that the people did not follow his instructions, but he did not punish them. He did not say a word for them. He did not say anything. He just they understood that they made a mistake, and that's what it. But Moses, for instance, he was given order, the deliverers. He was in authority in a way that he was. People should follow his order and directions. Confucius, he was different. That he did not address religious issues, or his ideas was not. His issues was like addressing things was different than. Also was kind of concentrated in issues that the Prophet or other leaders did not, was different, was completely different. So the Prophet was different than other leaders.
From a communication standpoint, given today's world and the conflict between Islam, Christianity, Judeo-Christian ethic, etc., how does your study help us, or does it help us? I see the word misunderstanding a lot. And is it really misunderstanding the teachings, or misapplication of the teaching? I mean, we know, for example, in Christianity, when violence has been perpetrated in the name of Christianity, of course, and certainly we see that happening today. What can we learn from your study that will help bring some communications harmony?
Yes, actually, this is my main goal: is to show these values that the Prophet addressed with many people that they don't know about. Is because they didn't have access to this information, or just misunderstood because of the gatekeepers who they don't want them to know about it. The media is not addressing issues that for the people to know the reality, and that's my goal is to let these values to be known by the people, and the people will know that the Prophet advocate peace. The Prophet was the same golden rule that it is known in the Judaism and Christianity, and this is what actually one of my goal is, to compare these values in Judaism and Christianity and Islam, and I'm sure there's going to be lots of similarities between these values, and when you know that there's no differences, and all these values it's the same, but the only problem that you may not know about it, and that's my goal, is to let these values known, and the people will realize that that's why we don't know that before, or
Okay, so basically then you fault in all instances the gatekeepers, the people who are interpreting
Yes.
these values, whether they be Christian, Islamic, whatever, that in essence, the way that certain ideas are communicated have been skewed because of gatekeepers.
Yes.
And in reality, the values are pretty much the same.
The same. The golden rule, the same. It's just to know that the forgiveness, the mercy, all the religions, no religion will ask people to be violent or to treat each other in a harm way. So, and that's all what this value is about.
Well, I'll come to that later.
Well, since my question was just asked by Dr. Wilson about textual versus content analysis, there is one part of it that I didn't hear, and I want you to speak to it a little bit, because I think there's always a great challenge when people elect to do qualitative research versus quantitative research. And the role of interpretation. I think Dr. Hahn mentioned that throughout this that you were trying to be objective. And when you talk about textual versus content analysis is a little more clear-cut. What role do your interpretations play in this document? How will you be able to argue the quality of the work that you've done based on your interpretations?
Yes. Well, my interpretation to these values came directly from the words of the Prophet. So I used comparing the words of the Prophet together, and some of them even they interpret each other. So I try to stay away from any subjectivity or any personal in a way that I would like the words to speak for themselves. So basically about each value, the Prophet said about himself that he is the most eloquent, and his words were concise and very short. He did not give long speeches, but very short, but to the point. So from his words, you find that he's getting to the point without much of indirect way. So the textual analysis will look at the words line by line and just to get the values out of what he said. So that's the best way to interpret his text more than content analysis, which is could be kind of you can't get deep in the meanings of the word through the content analysis, but the textual analysis will be able to compare words from different speeches, but it's the same issue, and that's how the textual analysis will go beyond the meaning of the current line and will address the issue in a clearer way than the content analysis.
And clarify for me, you were using the Quran and one other publication as the bulk of where you took your quotes from.
Yeah. Most of the words is the Prophet's words, which is this book and his words was collected by people about 2 centuries after he died. And these people they are around the same time, but they don't know each other. They just went to different directions. It was that was the time to collect his words. He on purpose asked not to record his words. There's difference between the Quran. Quran was recorded immediately, but his words, he was asked not to be recorded. But 2 centuries after they found that the people died, that they know his words, so about 6 people, they went in different directions, they don't know each other, and they start talking to people and asking them about what the Prophet said, and they start to put them together, and this is how we got his speeches. Many of them are similar, and some of them are different. Depends on where these people got their sources, but like one of them is Bukhari, who is considered the second after the Quran. He was very strict about how he will trace what the Prophet said. So for sure that it's known that the Bukhari is the most trusted words of the Prophet known to us, and also the others too. They are very strict in how they got the words of the Prophet through different means.
And so you talk about in the future using what you have discovered in the research.
Yes.
You talk about focus groups.
Yes.
And what impact can a focus group have with people from different cultures coming in? How would you work with that focus group, and for what end?
Yes, actually, the focus group issue could be will help to even to inform with the result, will inform the West that here we have non-Muslims and Western. They will talk about the values, and even they could apply these values and the Prophet addressed even without knowing that the Prophet said that about them. So and that will bring the comparison between Christianity and Judaism and Islam together. Will show that the values that you apply, it is the same values that the Prophet advocated all this time. And here, so when we get the results of this focus group, will show that how close to the people to each other, because they believe in the same values.
So you're trying to eliminate some of this misunderstanding that we're
Yes.
with the research.
Yes.
Thank you.
Now, one of the things that you mentioned in terms of talking about the process for textual analysis, you said that the critical thing was to ascertain the meaning intended by the producer of the text. I would say that that's one of the most difficult things to do, yet very important, particularly if the context that is in terms of when the text was produced is far removed in terms of time and space. You have an issue that you have to deal with, which Dr. Hans mentioned, which is how do you corroborate the evidence to arrive at your interpretation? What you mentioned is you have used two, what I would consider religious texts. One is the Quran and the other one you said is the Ahadith. My question is, did you look at some non-religious material to help you better understand the context and help you in interpretation?
Okay, well, since I was my sources from the words of the Prophet and the Quran, I did not look at any other sources, but this basically I did not get into, or I tried to stay away from any religious issues at all. All these values are secular, because the Prophet was described as he was successful in his secular life as in his religious life, as Hart stated in his book, The 100 Most Influential People, and he had Muhammad in the top of the list. So basically the values that I went through, they are closer to the secular. Even I tried to avoid any issues related to the religious affairs at all. In the same, so because the Islam is a way of life, the Prophet addressed things not only for religion. He was telling the people that work for your life as you're going to live forever, and at the same time prepare for your afterlife as you're going to die tomorrow. So I took that issue of work for your life as you're going to live forever. This means that you need to be good in in your life and reach the maximum you can. So that's kind of secular. That's not religious. And also when he organized the dealing with people financially, for instance, the financial issues and the way the people treat with each other in commerce or trade, that's not religious. So you could say that I explored the non-religious sections of the Prophet's sayings, but all within the saying of the Prophet. I did not I did not look through any other non-religious issues texts from far, but it is the Prophet's words which was non-religious.
Okay, but beyond the Prophet's words, were you able to look at how other people saw the Prophet's values, not just his words,
yes,
but how other people saw his values?
Yes, that's in the literature review. Of course, I even in purpose I used the scholars, non-Muslim scholars. So because for sure you are not going to be biased to Islam at all. So he was very objective, and they addressed the issues in a very clear way. That here what the Prophet said, and here what they think. As an example of them, heart. He revised his findings from time to time, and from time to time he would move people from the bottom to the middle to the top. But still, all this years since 1978, he kept Muhammad in the top because he described him as the most successful leader in the secular and religions together, which was hard for other leaders. Some leaders, they could be religious leaders, successful, but they are not in the religious, or vice versa. Like some generals in the army, like U.S. Grant, for instance, he was a great general, but when he came to be a politician, he was not a good president, or as compared to others. So, but Muhammad was successful in both, and that was, as the Western scholars stated in their findings, even from the 18th century, 19th century, and this century too.
Okay, so you feel confident that your conclusions are the most likely conclusions that one can draw from this type of story? Yes,
objective, because I even started with the non-Muslim scholars, that they looked at the Prophet's values, and of course they did not go through details as I went through these values, but their findings stating that the Prophet was successful secularly and religiously.
See, I was struck when you said that. I'm sure I read his dissertation, but I don't remember seeing that with those words, that he was the most successful.
Yes, hard. Yes.
Okay.
Hard.
Is that the chapter in the introduction?
No, in the literature review.
Okay, but that's something that should be made in the introduction, because while you're reading it, you're saying, well, why Prophet Muhammad? But if you have something documented, that's something that should appear in the first chapter in the introduction. Okay. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, it's in the. If you look at page.
Okay, I see it on page 29. Okay. It's the number one person.
Yeah, I got his latest book, and he's saying that he revised his book several times, and he put people in different according to their influence or their influence nowadays. That influence could be different about 10 years ago. Mm-hmm. They moved people from number 70 to number 10. Up and down, but he kept, during his 3 editions, he kept Muhammad in the top. And he said that his choice would be controversial, but he said that since he was secularly and religiously distinguished, that's why he put him in the top of the list.
Okay, did anybody else besides Hart, though, say that either?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Okay, then all of that, you need to document all of that up front.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And also, I did not read that book by myself. It's too big for me. But I just went through a little bit of it. Another reason the Muhammad account is the sincerity of the followers. compare to Christians, for example. Okay, how many Christians pray every day? Like most
5 times.
No, most.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a major difference. Okay. How sincerely and strictly follow the given rules. You compare the Christianity, the Jesus Christ and the Gandhi, very interestingly, but it's too short. You said, I mean, it's less than one paragraph. Okay? I thought that you should have extended it. Yeah, that should be extended substantially, because even you analyze the extraordinary values of Prophet Muhammad. But what do you mean by extraordinary values? Okay. All those values are not extraordinary values to me at all, because I already very much familiar with it throughout my lifetime, whether if I'm a Christian or not. Okay? So even you're a religious people or not, your parents teach you all these good words since you were born. Okay. Then what do you mean by extra?
Yes.
That wasn't my...
Right. Actually, since I looked at Burns' theory, and I found him identifying these values, liberty, collective well-being, so that was if any leader reached that point to have all these values, then he's considered a transformational leader. But if a prophet possessed more than these values, that's how I got that word extraordinary. So
Can you explain that?
Yes.
I understand.
Yeah.
That's why I was...
Yeah,
okay.
that's the issue.
Because also that's one of the questions that I have there, which are to clearly differentiate what extraordinary values.
And extraordinary because
when I read it first, extraordinary values, so that's a unique value. But when I read them, those are not unique values.
Yeah.
So you should explain it more in detail. Okay. It's somewhere, I don't know, but somewhere, very clearly, what do you mean by extraordinary values? You actually use the Burns concept of extraordinary values. It should be explicitly.
Okay. Fine. Thank you.
You have another question, Dr. Muhammad?
No.
Okay.
Yes, if you were to do the study again, what changes would you make? Now that you go through this process.
Well, actually, I would explore more. I would kind of in the same line. This was my future goal to explore. First, I identified about 70 values, and even that was just was not all. So what I will do, I will explore more of the values that I did not address, and I will make like an encyclopedia of these values, and I will compare it to Christianity and Judaism values too. So I will put it all together, and will just combine all these values and see what the Christianity said about forgiveness, and what Islam said about forgiveness, and what Judaism said about forgiveness, and so on. So I will have hopefully one value for each value, and so on. That's some kind of project that I'm just preparing for it, and also like a documentary film that I'm going to hopefully that I could, as soon as I finish, I will convert this to a book, and I will send it to specific to leaders, well-known leaders, that people that will especially recognized as transformational leaders, like Nelson Mandela, or Bill Clinton, or Thatcher, or whatever. So then I will interview them and see what the ideal values of the leaders, the modern leaders should be, and just to get these values, because even now I'm sure the people talking about morals and values that been people away from it. So we need